Hi, I'm Rigger. This is You're Right, and a wild new video has appeared. Before we start though, be sure to like the video if you like it, share it if you think others would like it, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. Now, let's continue giving RWBY characters their Pokemon teams. It's time to get serious, because today we're looking into the bad guys. That's right, it's Salem's 4 generals, Team Witch, Watts, Tyrian, Cinder, and Hazel. But I can't just give them any Pokemon, that's far too easy, so there's a list of rules I'm following to make it harder and just a little more interesting. First rule, no repeating starters. Pretty simple. There aren't enough starters to give to everyone, and I'm trying to give them where they should go, but once I use them, I can't use them again. Simple as that. 2. Restrictive legendaries, meaning you can have 2 at most, but I'm limiting it there. And you'll usually just have 1, although you might have a mythical or an ultra beast as well, but we'll see. And 3 is no repeating of regular Pokemon except in special circumstances, such as links between characters. So I'm trying to give everyone as unique a team as I can. Again, that kind of speaks for itself, and issues there are pretty obvious. Oftentimes a very obvious Pokemon will go between 2 different people, and once it's used one place, I just can't use it elsewhere. So, oh well, tough breaks, gotta find something else. And also, I like to add on that I am trying to give them more unique teams where possible, so I'm not just going to give someone who uses fire every single Pokemon in their team a fire Pokemon, because that would make their team terrible. But that being said, let's get into it. Starting off, let's look at the incomparable Dr. Arthur Watts. Technical genius, former Atlesian scientist, and a petty, smug, but devious criminal with a huge chip on his shoulder. Cinder said he deserved what he got, and I can't disagree, but today what he deserves is a Pokemon team to help take his ultimate revenge. First off is an easy pick. Watts holds great power in the realm of technology, able to infect and manipulate machines as he sees fit with his absolute genius. There is a Pokemon that does pretty much just that. Okay, it may not be through its genius, but it does infect machines. Therefore, Watts leaves himself options for some type diversity as well by adding a spooky little troublemaker that's perfect for his style, a manipulative Rotom. Next up is a bit of an odd pick perhaps, but if you're a master of technology, wiping said technology would be just as useful, perhaps with something like strong magnetism. That's not really the reason I'm picking this Pokemon. This Pokemon freely controls little drones that fight for it, just like some Atlesian knights Mr. Watts might employ, but mostly I just wanted to represent that impeccable mustache. So, that being said, Watts' next team member is nothing to sniff at, because it's a rock-solid Probopass. But now, onto more serious matters. It has always been true that Watts' greatest weapon is his mind. He is cunning, he is shrewd, and he is technically gifted. His biggest plays have been controlling others via manipulation or hacking, including the likes of Penny, almost controlling her mind with his genius. Therefore, Watts' next teammate is menacing and dominating. It's a very imposing presence of an Orbeetle. Next, we just need to address how Watts is so successful. His technological manipulation, be it viruses, programming, hacking, code manipulation, etc., there is so much he can do with the machine. Therefore, we need something to represent that. Luckily, we can do just that. Because it's not just a code Pokemon, because that would fit pretty well. It's not just an advanced code Pokemon, because that would fit really well, but it's a corrupted code Pokemon which fits perfectly. Watts adds a powerful little glitch to the system with a Porygon Z. Next though, we need to add a bit of power for someone at Watts' level. A strange oddity, something that manipulates power and corrupts anything electrical. It's tall and lanky and gangly just like him, so that's pretty fitting. A strange and strangely strong alien being that'd be perfect for anyone looking to mess with some electronics. Therefore, Watts boosts his power with a shockingly strong circuitry. And lastly, we round off for another boss for this boss. Watts isn't a big heads-on combatant, but he is a very good manipulator. He's like a parasite, latching onto and using the powers of others, turning weapons and defenses against those in power and directly manipulating those like Penny with corrupting technological forces. Not to mention, he's weird and a bit toxic, so this only fits more, because he's receiving the Parasite Pokemon, a being that does canonically manipulate others directly, an off-putting but deceptively strong Nihilego. Our next trainer is someone you don't want to meet in a dark alley, or ever. Tyrian Callows, deranged psychopathic murderer loyal to Salem and only Salem. murder on the mind, and the talent to pull it off, Tyrian is one of the most terrifying people to run across in all of Remnant, and now he has a Pokemon team. To start with, there's one he just has to have. Strong, incredibly dangerous, venomous, and well, it's a Scorpion. It may be simple to pick it, but it's nothing to scoff at. Tyrian starts out deadly with a toxic-tipped Drapion. But next, we'll cover more of his combat. Tyrian is terrifying in all forms of fighting, and that includes his surprisingly gymnastic hand-to-hand combat. Able to handle multiple high-level combatants at once, Tyrian's combat is full of spins and flourishes. Therefore, Tyrion's next partner is exactly the same. A martial master with a reliance on rotation, it's a dizzying Hitmontop. But there is more to Tyrion's terrifying tricks than his twirls and tail, and that is his arsenal with the Queen's servants, 2 bladed gauntlets to give the Scorpion some claws. So, therefore, we must give him something cutting to match, and we can do just that. It's mean, it's dangerous, and it's edgy. Tyrion's next partner is a backstabbingly bladed Bisharp. Next up, well look, Tyrian is the only Scorpion so far in the series. It's unique, and it's dangerous, plus his hair has the fun allusion to a Scorpion tail too, and he did get a second tail, sort of, so it wouldn't feel right to not just give him all of the Scorpions I can. So it's not very deep, but it is pretty dangerous. Tyrian adds a second Scorpion, and some nice variety with a sneaky, but striking, Gliscor. Next up, looking over Tyrion's achievements and his combat, we can't ignore his misdeeds. Many have fallen victim to his vicious tail, and that almost included the likes of Crow. Its deadliness can't be overstated. So, it's only right that he get a bit more of a venomous powerhouse with a steel stinger to boost. Tyrian swoops in with an intimidatingly toxic-tipped terror, Naganado. And lastly, if Tyrian has a claim to fame, it's a body count. Aside from the powers of the gods and eternal beings like Salem, Tyrion's body count is still especially high. Be they on-screen deaths like at Robin's rally, or Clover, or Forest, and more like the blood coming out through the doorways in Atlas, or off-screen throughout the show as people talk about the many more murders he's committed. The blood on Tyrion's hands is overwhelming. A homicidal maniac is indeed a perfect description. So, looking into some legendary power for the madman, it's only fitting he receive Murder Incarnate, one of the few Pokemon of such status that is outright stated to kill things. Just as Tyrian reveres Salem, I'm sure he too reveres the destructive capabilities of his last teammate. Tyrian tops off his team with a testament to truly terrifying titans, a deadly Yveltal. Now we move on to Cinder 4. Opinion on her is divided, but what can't be argued is her strength and her power. Her maiden status mixed with her greed and her want for power makes her a persistent antagonist, taking lives and cheating death repeatedly. Hate her all you want, but you still can't keep her down, and now she has a Pokemon team to take with her. Starting out, let's address who Cinder is. Especially to start, she filled the role of somewhat a femme fatale. Attractive, playful, but incredibly threatening and plotting, lying in wait to spring her trap. So we can give her something perfect for the job. Feminine, toxic, and with a burning rage. You will bow down before Cinder or she will make you, with her fiery Salazzle. Next though, we'll address the other side of her personality, greed. She wants it all, she says so herself. She has an appetite for power and sees no use in accepting any compromises, and has led her to destroy anything and everything that stands in her way, no matter the cost. Single-minded gluttony for strength. We can match that. Cinder adds an early heavy hitter to her team with the ravenous and rampaging, endlessly strong Guzzlord. Next up though, Cinder needs a starter. Now a lot of people rag on Cinder, but she's proven again and again that she is at least in combat quite fearsome. People like to forget that her real losses are only to other people who are essentially OP themselves. Using fiery maiden powers and martial arts, we've seen multiple examples of her massive capabilities on the battlefield. Therefore, with roaring flames, crashing kicks, and burning desire, she partners well with the burning bird of battle, a roaring Blaziken. But now is where I make you mad at me, because I'm breaking the rules. But not my rules. I'm breaking some Pokemon rules because Cinder is meant to be really strong. Not to mention, she almost had a different life, but it didn't turn out that way. She was reborn to something different. She had a new start at life once things changed for her, and showing her the same favoritism she receives from Rooster Teeth in the show seems pretty fitting. So she's receiving a second starter. It's not unfair, it's just Cinder. And that is because I want to address perhaps my favourite touch to Cinder, which is her bow. Sure, we have Robin, but Cinder's far more important priority-wise, and Cinder actually uses a full bow. Since she has used that bow to kill both Amber and Pyrrha, it has a lot more significant weight to it narrative-wise. So especially since, like her, this Pokemon is also half dead, being half ghost, Cinder knocks another major player with her keen-eyed and sneaky sniper, a deadly Decidueye. Next though, let's address the Grim in the room. She is part monster. Her arm is not just a deadly weapon, but it has the Grim ability to siphon aura, to suck the soul. Her desire for power leads her on a path to attempt to devour the souls of maidens to claim their abilities for her own. Therefore, she needs to be paired with a Pokemon that can do pretty much the same. This Pokemon will swallow a person whole, taking their soul and leaving an empty husk behind. Seeing as that's pretty reflective of Cinder's goal with the maidens, she receives her next partner, a dark and daunting devourer, a devastating Dusknoir. And lastly, she needs something just a bit evil. Yeah, she has fire types here, but nothing to represent her flaming eyes, that signature look. So, how about a dark, sinister Pokemon said to have a flame-like aura that consumes the souls of all those within it? Plus, being a boss-level character doesn't mean she isn't also a minion, because she is. Which is fun, because this Pokemon is derived from also one that is a minion under another. So, therefore, Cinder caps off her squad with a burning, fiery Malice. She rounds out that team with a menacing Galarian Moltres. And finally, we join Hazel Rainart, a man filled with conflict and grief, his tragic history leading him down a dark path. Nothing undoes the things he's done, but he did care for others at his heart. Gone but not forgotten, his protective nature and strong convictions led him to face down an unbeatable enemy without a moment's hesitation. Hopefully his journey goes better this time with a Pokemon team at his side. First off, let's address his combat. Despite some of the issues in Volume 5, it was nonetheless memorable for the moment that Hazel revealed to the world how he fought. One moment that stuck with many was the image of him pinning down an electrifying Nora. Little did he know the mistake he was making. But to commemorate that notable first appearance, Hazel receives something fitting. A big, strong, physical attacker brimming with electrical energy. Just like Hazel, you don't want it to get its hands on you. Hazel surges out of the gate with a crackling companion, a fully charged Electivire. But, as noted, despite his brutish appearance, he has a soft spot. He is protective, stepping in for both Emerald and Mercury to shoulder blame and keep them safe. Just because he has violent tendencies doesn't make him heartless, and there's a Pokemon just for that. Bulky, strong, violent, loves fighting, but will defend its brethren without hesitation. Hazel keeps stacking up the muscle with his powerful Pangoro. Next though, Hazel's combat is not just limited to electricity. He utilizes all kinds of dust to his advantage, and as such we should reflect that in a Pokemon. His fists are deadly all on their own, let alone whatever element he decides to add to on top of it. Therefore, Hazel adds his next partner, with some of the strongest set of hands to strike with and able to wield the elements with them too. Hazel throws out a mean uppercut to the competition with his striking Hitmonchan. However, I feel we need to give a special mention to how Hazel went out. But if we're addressing his death, let's also address his life too and make it full circle by giving him a starter. Hazel didn't start out dark, and neither did this Pokemon, but by the end they both will get there. At the end of his life, Hazel wrestled Salem into an unbreakable grapple, and despite his dark nature still attempted to incinerate her. So there's nothing better for it than a heavily muscled and wrestling heel cat, a burning Incineroar. Next though, let's address his build. Hazel is an imposing physical specimen. It just wouldn't be right if we didn't give Hazel something on par with his incredible physical prowess. But Rather than just a strong Pokemon, let's push it into a really strong Pokemon. So, for no more reason than that, because why would you need one, Hazel's team gets some serious gains with this big bug, a bulging Buzzswole. And lastly, it may have been a single line, but it was a very accurate single line when Crow described Hazel as being sheer willpower. He is. His determination and dedication to revenge led him to become the imposing figure he is, with the incredible abilities that he has. The same can be said for when he faced down Salem. He has conviction. He has the will to fight for whatever he believes is right, no matter the obstacle. So as such, he deserves a Pokemon to match, and I think there is one that's perfect. One that is willpower. The willpower Pokemon. His whole team so far is looking like some pretty built and jacked Pokemon, but there is room for one little being on his shoulder to give him the strength to really go on. Hazel finishes up his team with the literal power of will, a determined Azelf. And there are the teams. What do you think? Who would win? Any changes you would make? While we're here, I'll use this end card to talk a bit as usual. I know the curiosity and anticipation for Cinder has been particularly high throughout these, and understandably so. I think people might disagree with me giving Yveltal to Tyrian and the Moltres to Cinder when you could argue Yveltal fits Cinder too and is the stronger of the two. But the fact Galarian Moltres has that image of flame so similar to her and is so skillfully also avoids adding more fire types to her while keeping that appearance, I thought that really worked well. Plus, I mean, Galarian Moltres is pretty evil, and Tyrian does deserve some serious power because despite not being, granted powers like a maiden, he's still going and he's a serious threat and kills people, so I wouldn't call Yveltal not fitting for him. Tyrian's team is pretty strong, especially with the Yveltal there, and he does deserve it. Plus, being able to put Gliscor in there, because it's a Scorpion, but not another poison type, was cool too. And I like that the Naganadel has a steel-tipped stinger too, which is just a little bonus. I actually had to go look up how to pronounce that, by the way. I used the one from the dub, so if you got a problem with how I say it, you got a problem with how the dub says it. I can see people asking why I didn't give Watts a gun. Again, there are very few gun Pokemon, especially a pistol. Like, it would be like a Ramarade, and, I mean, what's he gonna do with a Ramarade? There's stronger options. Yeah, type diversity, but it's a Ramarade. That's pretty much all that's left to give him, and yeah, it doesn't really help him. I also did think it was funny that almost all of Hazel's team, except one, is humanoid and most of them are beefy. But that all-important little willpower floating there with him is just so important and ties it all together. Watts also, I didn't find too much fitting his rings or anything, but I think his team works fine. Xurkitry's probably the weakest choice there, but it has his body type and has the electric stuff, plus a bit of spark for a head, which reminds me of like a classic light bulb idea for someone smart like him, so I thought it sort of thematically fit. I think giving Decidueye to Cinder is the right call. I know 2 starters is a lot, but I always loved her bow and arrow, and saving it for like maybe Robin if I get there isn't really worth it, especially when she doesn't use an actual bow and arrow, and Cinder has made such a big impact with hers. Plus the half-ghost Grim connection is cool. I decided Cinder was probably going to have 2 starters a long time ago, and she almost got Charizard to be like Kevin, but she didn't need more fire types, and Blaziken fit better out of the 2 because she does like the martial arts and the fire mixed in, especially with the end of Volume 8, so it just worked better. I wish there was more, rotating type Pokemon left, to represent the maiden for her, but we've pretty much used them all at this point. But, that's okay. Cinder really only uses her fire, except in very rare special occasions. Getting the Bisharp too for Tyrian's Blade was nice, since I've been trying to spread out who uses swords and stuff get the very few, bladed Pokemon there are. You gotta dole them out very carefully, and I think that it really fits him at least here. It's funny, looking at these teams, one of the swaps you could almost make between 2 of these people is giving Nihilego to Cinder for the Grim Parasite, but so far it hasn't actually controlled her at all. That's more just a thing fans have said for a long time. But Watts did do that to Penny, and by extension I'm comfortable with it there. And also she already has a Guzzlord, and she can't get another Ultra Beast, and Guzzlord did fit her pretty well. Plus it also adds on a little bit of Dragon, just so there is some in there. So at least there is sort of a kind of Kevin reference. Anyway, that's all for now. Like I said, please let me know what you think for these teams. I think they're pretty good, and I'm really liking this series. But until next time, my name is Rigger. I hope you have a wonderful day, trainers, and I hope I did alright.